And we're understanding now what the works of the flesh is all about, what the Apostle Paul was talking about, why he spent so much time talking about the flesh. Why did Jesus bring it up? Why did Peter bring this up? Why is it so important? And we found out that the works of the flesh is important because it's part of our walk of faith, understanding the works of the flesh. That's part of how we walk by the Spirit and not fulfill the lust of the flesh. Extremely important. We found out in 1 Timothy 6 chapter and the 12th verse, we also found out that we fight the good fight of faith. The fight of faith is a continual fight. It's not a fight that you can lay down. I hear people laying their salvation and stuff down. Listen, it takes work. Okay? It's going to take some work on your part, but you do have the help of the Holy Spirit. A lot of times Christians forget to call upon the Holy Spirit. Like, can you help me out with this, God? Because this look kind of big. Okay? I need some help on this as I go through it. That's the good thing, but it's a walk of faith and it's a fight of faith. We fight the fight of faith every day. When we look at TV, we have to fight the fight of faith because of the different images that come up that challenge us as far as, are we living the right life? Are we moving in the right direction? And we found out also that dealing with the carnal self, the old self, or the works of the flesh, we found out that the definition that we were running is that it's when you would look to do something that feels good, but underneath it has a deteriorating effect. It feels good to the flesh. Drugs, methamphetamine feels good to your flesh. It can really take you on a high, but it's going to deteriorate you down under. Are you with me? And that's what happens when we begin to carry out the works of the flesh. Now, everything that you do in the flesh is not evil. Okay, you've got to have some balance here, right? When you take a shower, that's not spiritual, but it's not evil. We thank God for people who take a shower. Amen. Thank God. We appreciate that. Amen. We appreciate those things. So everything in the flesh or done in the body is not wrong. But there are many times when the old self, if it doesn't have the leadership of the Holy Spirit that lives within you, then it can turn towards something that is wrong. So once again, we see that the works of the flesh, we also say, gave one definition, that which is inclined to do evil unless it's inspired to do good by the Holy Spirit. You will always have a leaning toward it. We're going to talk about it a little more today, but there's always a leaning toward that. We also find out from these three passages of Scripture, Galatians 2nd chapter and verses number 17, James the 1st chapter and verses number 21, and 1 Peter the 1st chapter and verse number 9. All these scriptures, they point to an unfinished work. Can you say unfinished work? Unfinished. See, you and I, we're an unfinished work. But the work that God has done is finished. It's complete. That's why he said it is finished, meaning he doesn't have to do anything anymore. We really got to catch this. God, we ask God to come down and touch us, but he's not. God, I need you to just come down and touch me. It doesn't work like that. I mean, it sounds great, and we can pray it sometimes. I think God understands where we're coming from, but I'm just trying to let you understand. You have everything within you that you need. Because listen, we found out that according to 1 Thessalonians 5:23, that we are spirit, soul, and body. Can we say that? Spirit, soul, and body. And you have to take care of all three. Now, God will help you with the Holy Spirit, but we got to take care of all three. And God has put himself in our spirit. When we're born again, God comes in to live in our spirit. We have a born again, recreated, brand new spirit that lives inside of us. And if God gives any portion of himself to live inside of us, that which lives inside of you is wall to wall Jesus, and there's healing in that. Listen, there's provision in that. Listen to what I'm saying. There's peace in that. There's a clear frame of mind that's in that. Listen, it may not be in your soul. It may not be in your mind right now because your mind is going everywhere trying to land on something. But listen, it's already in your spirit. It's already there. That's why Jesus said it is finished. He's not coming off the cross. He's not coming from heaven no more because he put that inside of you. It lives in you. The Bible says the same power, well, it's hard for us to believe, the same power that raised Jesus from the dead lives inside of you. And I know it's hard to clap about that because you're saying, well, all that is in me, then why is this outside of me? Wow. And what has to happen is you have to learn how to transform according to the word so that what's in you will match what's outside of you. So your revelation will start matching your situation. Come on, man. And this is where God is leading us when we look at the works of the flesh. He's showing us how to line things up. I mean, sometimes it takes a while for me to go over the word and get my soul to calm down. Because I saw something on the news and now my mind is running. Or I've went to the doctor and he said this, that this is chronic, this is that, no, this is acute. Now my mind is running trying to find somewhere to settle, and I'm running on the internet and calling people. But the thing is, I need to settle down and say, God, I thank you that the same power that resurrected Jesus from the dead, it lives in me. Listen, saint, it either lives in you or God lied. Come on now. It lives in you. And this is what the fight is. This is what the fight of faith is all about. I'm trying to keep my faith according to what God has said about me in his word. You may not believe it, but God has the most accurate picture of you that you will ever find in your life. Come on now. He's got a very accurate picture of you, but you may not have the accurate picture. And so we begin to wonder, we begin to drift off. And God is showing us that this fight of faith can be done, and it's done through the power of the Spirit, and it's not done through walking in the flesh. Can you say yes, Lord? Yes. Part of this battle we also found out came from Romans 7th chapter and verses number 15. Paul had a struggle. Now we know Paul wrote over 2/3 of the New Testament. So the guy had mighty revelation, but he said he had a struggle in his early years. In Romans, the 7th chapter and verses number 15, he said, when I would try to do good, I find that evil is present and it's hard for me to do the right thing. That's the battle that you and I have. We're trying to do it right, but sometimes it's hard to perform it. We have a revelation, but now it's like our bodies on the outside don't want to do it right in the situation. So we struggle with that. But we want to look today at why is it that we struggle and how can we get around that? How can we get through this? How can we begin to walk by the Spirit and not fulfill the lust of the flesh? Can you say yes, Lord? Yes. And you have to learn how to recognize the battle. Somebody say recognize the battle. Recognize the battle. There's a battle going on in you, and if you don't recognize it, if you don't know what's happening, chances are you're going to lose it. Amen. And we're not asking you to agree that there is a battle. It would be nice, but God has already determined that there's a battle going on with your flesh and your spirit, the new creation that lives inside of you. Yeah. There's a battle going on. And if you're not smart enough to recognize it, then you won't appreciate the fight that you got to put in sometime. You see, a lot of Christians don't put in no work. They say, well, if God going to do it, he'll do it. I'm not going to worry about it. You got to be careful of that. Yeah. Come on now. Sure, he's sovereign. He controls everything. But we got to be careful in trying to put the whole responsibility on God as if you don't even have a free will. We got to be careful. Quit dumping everything. Well, he's sovereign. He can do whatever he want to do. He is God. He is sovereign. He can do whatever he want to do, but he needs your participation. Yeah. He's so designed the system that he needs you to acknowledge what he's already done for you. Yeah. Anybody want more faith? I want more faith because I want to get more done. I'm getting to a place where I got more life behind me than I got in front of me. So I got to walk in faith. I got to believe God. I got to start trusting God. Let us go to Philippians 1:6. Take a look at that. Paul says it's a battle, man. I'm going through a battle and I'm fighting. I'm trying to do good, but sometimes it seems like I just can't get there. I can't get there. And once you learn, listen to this, saints, once you learn how to appreciate the battle, you'll start discerning what's going on in you and sometimes with other people. And you'll quit engaging in fights that you don't even need to be in. That's true right there. You fighting with somebody that's come over your house because you don't agree with them. And every time they come in there, you have a knockdown, drag out fight about who's telling the truth and who not. Why are you fighting that battle? Why are you fighting the battle? If it's a fight all the time, just tell them to go home. Or uninvite them. Is that a word? Uninvite, unlike, or something? I don't know. We get engaged in these battles, especially those that are married. You get engaged with a battle with your wife and your husband you shouldn't even be involved with. If you would have appreciated the fight, then you would have sensed a struggle going on with you. The fight was with you, never was with her. Come on now. Yeah, right, God. We get it twisted. Adam, listen, in Adam and Eve, he had 2 kids. You can remember his kids were named? Cain and Abel. Come on, talk to me now. I just get through coming out of churches that don't talk. Y'all got to talk to me now. I ain't having it. I'll go home. No, I'm just joking. But listen, Cain and Abel, right? Yeah. Now, listen, Cain slew Abel. Am I right? Yeah. Listen to this. Cain wasn't mad at Abel. Cain was mad at God. Come on now. You see how you can have yourself misplaced? Cain had a problem inside himself, and God wasn't accepting his condition. So he gets mad and he takes it out on somebody that had nothing to do with it. Don't it happen every day? People pulling off and shooting these guns off with somebody. I don't even know why. I didn't know you were struggling. Why are you shooting at me? Yeah. These are works of the flesh. The works of the flesh, it says in Galatians 5:19, they're manifest, they're clearly seen, they're wide open because your flesh does not like holding back. Somebody say, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Hallelujah. Then God led us a little further, and he showed us some things. He showed us some things coming out of the book of, back in Galatians. We'll go back to Galatians, the 5th chapter, if you would, starting with verse number 16. If you would go back there. Thank you, Lord. Bless your name. I was looking at some songs. I was researching songs and how generations pass, and it was interesting. Since I was looking at these songs, and I went several years back. I didn't want all the updated songs. Just looking at the titles, because there's a battle going on. And I want you to be able to recognize the battle. This I say, then walk in the Spirit, and you shall not do what? That word lust, we're dealing with that again. Let's go to verses number 17. I want you to take a look at this, verses number 17. For the flesh lusts against what? The spirit. And the spirit against the flesh. These two are contrary one to another, so that you cannot do the things that you would. That's the fight that's going on. There's a lust, and the word lust is not always an evil word, but it depends on what it's attached to, what you're referring to. You see right here, lust can't be evil because, listen, the spirit lusts. Yeah. All right now. The spirit love. It's a passion. There's a passion in the spirit man to do what God wants to do. There's a passion in your lower animated nature that says, I want to do what I want to do. And that's where the struggle is. We want you to be able to recognize that struggle. But I was looking at these songs, man. And these songs, I was just going down. And I'm like, God, well, what's going on here? And God's saying, look, they're proclaiming who's king in their life. Wow. And I went down and looked at the titles. You touch me. You sex me up. I touch myself. I'm a sexy mother F. And I'm like, my goodness, okay. And I went over and looked at the same year of the Christian song. I praise you. Amen. I lift you up. Forgiven. Isn't that amazing? So what you do, you get a chance, Almighty, all these songs, you get a chance to see that there's a battle going on in the spirit and the flesh. The flesh is saying that I'm king, and what I feel, that's king for right now. And the spirit man is saying, no, God is king. Come on now. It's an epic battle that takes place time and time again. You know what, saints? It may help somebody. This is why I had to shift my music. Yes. All right. Okay. I had to shift now I'm not going to talk about music. Some of you may fall out and not come back to church. So I ain't going to mess with your music. But listen to the principle that I'm sharing, though. The principle goes like this. When I became saved, I was, letting certain music go. Well, I held on to certain type of music. I think was the last one. The second to the last one that I let go was, well, you guys may, reveal how old I am. His name was Al Jarreau, but forget it, Anyway, after I let that go, I was holding on to one more. And because I like jazz, I thought it was soothing. Come on now, jazz music can be soothing, right? So I'm listening to this music, and then I start feeling a little uncomfortable. I'm not talking about my flesh. My spirit's like, I don't know about this. So I go to look at this guy. His name was Grover Washington. Yeah. And so I go and I begin to research this guy. And I say, well, what is this mystic lady? I like the sax in it. And I looked up the song, and what it was all about. And it was about him having an affair with somebody else's wife. I made my mind up and said, you know what, God? I'm getting ready to get strictly Christian. So now I got all type of Christian jazz music. Anybody ever heard of Allen and Allen? There's Christian jazz. What's the young Tankard? Ben Tankard. Okay? I can't deal with other stuff no more. Because when I listen to his music, I look at the titles and I'm good.
Yeah.
Waylon, that's another one. That's right. Listen, things you don't have an excuse for just listening to secular music because you like certain beats. You can almost find any beat that you want, but you got to take the time to do it. Expose yourself to it. Listen to radio stations and find new music that appeal to you. Did somebody say K-Love? They have a variety of music on there, okay? And the thing is, you have to expose yourself. You got to expose yourself to things that are wholesome, that are good for you, and quit exposing yourself to junk.
I know that's right.
I mean, this world is changing, isn't it?
Yes.
It's changing. Yeah, I mean, this world is changing. Hallelujah. This world is changing. I'm like, I looked up the other day, I saw Kanye West leading about a couple of thousand people to Jesus. I'm like, my God. And you get people saying, well, what do you think? Is he really saved? Shut up. The question should be, are you really saved? Because you struggle just like he has struggled.
All right now.
I can't believe Christians sometimes. Sometimes I can't even read them sometime on Facebook. I'm like, no, I can't.
That's right.
But things are changing. The world is getting more prevalent in the evil. And so what you're seeing now, I used to keep my stuff on certain channels, with the cable and stuff, the direct TV. So here I go, I'm on certain channels. Now I can't even watch certain channels.
That's right.
Commercials, somebody bumping and slamming somebody in a wall and trying to get a French kiss, hands. I'm like, what? I'm watching ESPN.
Oh, my God.
Can't I watch sports? So now we're relegated. I still watch sports, but we're relegated now. We have a service, and you say, Pastor, you putting that out? You trying to give them some props? Yes, I'm trying to give them some props. And the name of the service is Pure Flicks.
That all the time.
Instead of just looking at a movie, why don't you look at something that got some spiritual principles in it? Amen. Support them. You know why? You'll be the better for it.
That's right.
You'll leave out one of these movies with crying like, man, I need to get that part of my life right.
Not right now.
Amen. There's a battle going on with the flesh and with the spirit. And because of that battle, saints, we have to be more alert and aware of what is taking place. Can you say, yes, Lord?
Yes, Lord.
Thank you, Lord. Now, once again, we don't have time to cover it. Proverbs 27:12, we talked about that, how a prudent man, a shrewd man or woman, they see evil coming and they hide themselves. That's shrewd. You got to be shrewd. You got to know what can stick to you. Isn't that stuff that stick to you? Are you with me? Like I know people into old songs, They say, well, they say, I've been over people's house. Saved to the bone. They like old songs. Now, if that gets you, fine, okay? But I know me. When I listen to an old song, it could take me back to what I used to do when the old song was a hit. So what did I do? I just back up from it.
That's right.
See, because a wise woman, a wise man, a prudent person, they see it coming, and the Bible says they move, they hide themselves.
Yeah, come on now.
I'm not going to be a part of that because I know what that can bring in my life. Are you with me? And you see certain people have doubt. You need to be around people with faith, saints. You really do. Instead of around people that doubt, they don't believe you can do this or that in the Bible. They don't believe you can walk in the Spirit. They don't believe in healing. They don't believe that marriages can actually work. You need to hang around people that have great faith that marriages were created by God and it can work.
Yes.
Amen. So that's the fight that's going on. Now, we left off last couple of times talking about the different categories of the works of the flesh, and that's what we'll look at now. We covered category 1, which is adultery, fornication, lasciviousness, and uncleanness. And we find out that the antithesis to these works of the flesh, these sins of the flesh, was sexual purity. Sexual purity is the antithesis. It's what's going to keep you from delving off into something that you shouldn't be into. We're going to get into that if we have time. Can you say yes, Lord? Yes, Lord. That's and what you have to see, what we're trying to do. Somebody say what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is trying to keep ourselves sexually pure in a world that's gone sexually insane. And you can't do it by yourself. You're going to need help. His grace is sufficient. It's very sufficient for what you need. Somebody say yes, Lord. Yes. We looked at category 2, which was idolatry and witchcraft. And of course, idolatry and witchcraft really didn't have anything to do with you setting up idols in your home and bowing before them. But we found out that there are gods that you erect in your own heart. It's a heart thing, Steve. There are gods that you erect in your own heart. And you erect them because you've been hurt before. You erect them because somebody treated you bad before. You erect them because somebody left out and took all that you had. You erect these false gods because you don't want to be used up again. And then we start believing in certain things more than we believe in God. Amen. We start believing in, and it's sad. You start believing in the fact that, you reap what you sow, Ryan. So if you did something, and things are going wrong for you, then you ought to expect it because, there's some truth in that, but there's also grace. Amen. There's also grace that covers that. And God say, look, I know you messed up, but let's go. Yes. Let's go to the next level. Yes. Amen. That's our God. That's why he's so powerful and so good. Amen. Amen. So we saw how important that was. Idolatry, erecting your own gods. We don't have time to go back over that. And then dealing with witchcraft. We know witchcraft was from the Greek word pharmakia, which means taking drugs or alcohol to alter the way that you feel. And we know that alcohol passes that area in the body called the blood-brain barrier. And it gets up in the mind and begins to affect the mind. And God is saying, no, I don't need you doing that. I don't need you doing that. It is so quiet, Kelly. God is saying, I don't need you doing that. I need you to let me go past the blood-brain barrier and let me fill your mind. When you're doing something else, that's a form of idolatry, okay? And that's why he's trying to get us, to where we can walk in the spirit and not fulfill the lust that's in the flesh. Amen. So once again, and then we looked at witchcraft too, but we found out witchcraft, it was the word pharmakia, has nothing to do. See, this is why we got to wake up, man. Superstition, man. Well, it's on superstition ain't the way.
Sing it, Pastor, yeah.
It's not superstition, saints. We can't. Oh, man. We look at the word witchcraft and we just read it and we just keep going. And what you don't understand, they're not talking about a witch with a big pointed hat and a long pointed nose and a wart on the end of her nose. They're not talking about a magic wand. Witchcraft have to do with not only the word pharmakia, but it has to do with control. I want to control this relationship so I can get what I want. It's all about manipulation and intimidation. I'll get you to give me what I want eventually. And so these are works of the flesh. Why should, if I love you, you love me, why should I have to intimidate you to get what I want from you so the relationship can have some equilibrium? It is. Witchcraft. It is. You're trying to control somebody.
All right now.
Got to watch that because it gets in the area of idolatry. Well, you ain't been acting right, so I ain't giving you no smooches. You're playing games and you're dealing with a work of the flesh. And if it's going to maintain, if you're going to keep your influence on them, that which is born of the flesh is flesh, you're going to have to continue to do a work of flesh. That's a pretty poor way of bonding. Amen. It's a pretty poor way. Amen. And so we ended up now in this area of category 3 where you deal with sins of temper. Let's go take a good look at Galatians 5 and number 20, I think it is. Somewhere around there, 20. Idolatry, witchcraft, we finished that category. Now we move to the third category, hatred. Read this with me. Hatred, variance, emulation, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, and I think there's just a few more. Envying, murder, drunkenness, reveling, and such like, of which I told you before, as I've also told you in time past. They which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom. I mean, then that should be you ought to have a little reverence, right? And understand what he's trying to say. Yeah. Now, this is what I like about it. He didn't say you weren't going to heaven. Right. But you won't inherit the kingdom of God. You're not going to have the things of God in your life on the earth, and people are going to wonder, are you really saved? Because you can't inherit it, because you don't inherit it through the flesh. You inherit it through the Spirit, through the promises of God. Somebody say, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. That's how you inherit it. Now let's take a look at this. Oh, boy, time. Listen, I want to deviate a little bit and look at this area of grace. Because, listen, you got to understand, we don't want to get involved in the works of the flesh, but you can't do it by yourself. You can't. You don't have enough discipline to keep yourself away from the works of the flesh. That's right. If you did, then you would have been on the cross. Yeah. Right now. Amen. You would have been on the cross. So we need what we call not just discipline in our church, but what? Dependent discipline. I'm going to do some discipline, God, but I'm expecting the Holy Spirit to work with me and help me as I carry this out. Clarity. That's what we need. We need some clarity. Can somebody say, yes, Lord? Yes, Lord. So grace, we understand that Ephesians 2:8-9 deals with grace. And it says, for by grace are you saved. Watch this. The word grace is the Greek word sozo. It means delivered. Wow. So you don't just use grace to become born again. You use grace to get delivered of other junk that's in your life that may pertain to the works of the flesh. Yes. For grace are you saved through faith. You can't boast. You can't do it yourself. So grace is very important. In fact, 2 Corinthians 12:9, my grace is enough. It's sufficient. You don't need more. I know you want more this and more that. The grace is enough. It's sufficient. And you really can increase your grace in some way. It says in the book of 2 Peter, the first chapter, it says that that grace and peace be multiplied unto you through the knowledge of God. So God has given you enough, but you've got to appropriate it. Can you say appropriate it? Appropriate it. That means you got to take the promises and begin to hold on to them and meditate on them to a point where your soul will just begin to just chill out and say, okay, I guess you're going to stick with this scripture. And then your spirit is able to run with it. But you've got to appropriate it. You got to get a hold of it. And you've got to meditate it and get it to where it's in you. You got to study the scripture enough until the scripture studies you. Yeah. You got to meditate the scripture enough till the scripture start meditating everything there is about you. Yeah. And it takes a little time. That's good right there. You got to abide. It's a heart issue. Still dealing with that heart issue. And let's take a look at this, because I want to, then we're going to move on and finish this out. But I want you to understand some things about grace. Grace is, let me give you this definition. I think this is going to help you. Grace is I had to write this down. Grace is an insurance policy for stumbling. I'm going to let y'all chew on that. Grace is an insurance policy in case you should stumble. It is not an insurance policy if you decide to sin. Amen. All right, say it again. That's good. Amen. Okay, I might have to be there for a while. Come on. Grace is an insurance policy for if you should stumble. Now listen to what I'm saying. A stumble not caught turns into a fall. Thank you, Mom. So if you can't catch this, we all stumble, right? Watching TV and oh no, I don't need to be watching this. Let me change this. You ever been there? It's like, man, let me change the channel because it's going to lead my mind off in a direction that I don't want to be in. Okay, we stumble, and that's what grace is. If you should take a stumble, but not only does grace allow you to stumble, watch this, but grace catches you before you get too far. Say, no, wait, slow down. You're going too far. Okay, you've been watching this long enough. And you watch no more episodes. Oh, come on, talk to me. Say, wait a minute now. I know you're upset with him or her. Okay, but you done went too far. See, grace catches you while you stumble. Well, I'm gonna get them. I ain't got to take. I'm a Christian, but I ain't no sissy Christian. I'm gonna let them know right now. Wait. You're stumbling. Okay, you're stumbling. Don't want you to fall. So grace catches you, and grace is like, no. You gotta slow down. You're getting off into something too deep. You're getting off. Watch this. You're getting off and out of your bound. You're getting into somebody else's boundaries. Their own personal boundaries. You cannot control what people do. It's a hard lesson. You thought you could control anybody with the quintessence of your ever essence. Is that a word? Y'all have to help me on that one. But you think you can, and you know what? But don't we find out in the relationships that you ain't got as much influence as you thought you had. That's a shocker, isn't it? You wake up like, man, I can't change this situation. My God, what can I do? You can get on your knees and call on the name of the Lord. Amen? Ask God to give you grace to walk through it. Then as you walk through it, hopefully that person will ask you, how you doing or how you walking through this thing. But there's a lot of stuff we can't change. You're talking about changing somebody. Get somebody to change. And it's hard for you to change yourself.
Come on now.
Like that country brother said, trying to change somebody. Come on, man. You know how hard it is for you to change yourself. And so that's why we have to depend on grace. Grace is an insurance policy if I should stumble. Can we say that? Grace is an insurance policy for if I should stumble. Watch this. Not an insurance policy to purposefully do wrong.
Wow.
Oh, stay with me, saints. Grace is for you. Every time you stumble, grace is there. Come on, you can make it. I love you. That's God. But it's for your stumble. It's not for you purposely saying, I'm going to do it. And then you do it. That's not an insurance policy for that. See, grace is not an insurance policy for you to deliberately do what you want to do. And then while you're doing it, you want God to cover you while you develop feelings for the wrong thing. Now you've developed feelings for doing the wrong thing. That's why you can't follow your feelings. You have to follow the word of God because your feelings can tell. Watch this. You can tell your conscience. You've been in the word a little bit, and the conscience is saying, no, you don't need to do that because that's not the thing to do. But then your feelings will come back as you sit in the boardroom and say, no, I've did it before. I didn't feel that bad. I've lied before. I didn't feel bad. In fact, got away with it on my income tax. So,
help us.
You see what I'm saying? You can begin to feel good about the wrong thing. That's why you can't trust your feelings. That's why we get in the Word of God. That's why we call it the 2010. We spend time with God because our feelings, they don't know which way to go. 2 Corinthians, 2nd chapter, verses number 14. It says the natural man, we're going to do it at Wednesday night more in detail. The natural man received not the things of the Spirit of God. Neither can he know them because they are spiritually discerned. So your natural man, he don't know what's going on. He's going to always gravitate toward evil unless inspired and inclined to do good. Amen? Let's take a look at these words. Let's go back to 5 and 20 of Galatians, and we'll deal with these words. Let's look at this first word. Are you guys still there? Yeah. See, saints, with grace, you decide to be kind. See, this is not Holland teaching here. You decide to do good. You expose yourself to the word, or you're around some saints, or you read, you decide to love somebody when they're unlovable. Sister, you decide to love your husband. And then when you decide to do it, then God comes in. He says, now let me help you do it. Because I know he got some rough edges. Let me help you to love her, because I know she's a hard woman to love, but she's got a lot of love. And I need you to bring that out of her. So when you make the decision to love her, even though you don't even feel like doing it sometimes, God works with you and he helps you. You don't have to do it on your own.
That's good, Pastor. Yeah.
It can get depressing to do it on your own. You know why? Because we've all tried it on our own and we couldn't win them over. Other relationships. Are you with me? And so God makes sure if you decide to do the right thing, I'll walk with you and I'll do it with you. Can you say yes, Lord? Yes, Lord. Let's look at this first one, dealing with hatred. Can somebody say hatred? What is hatred? Well, it's a work of the flesh and it's malice. It's ill will toward somebody. Usually in hatred, you have no intentions of a truce. You have no intention of the truth. You're not even interested if they give you the reason why they did it. Well, it don't make no difference anyway. I'm not having a truce with it. It's kind of like over in Israel, in those Middle East countries. I read this book by a Jewish guy called Everlasting Hatred. That means you can treat them right and they still gonna hate you. Hatred is a work of the flesh. It's not looking for a truce and it's not looking for reconciliation. Hatred does not want you to be redeemed. It's a work of the flesh. Amen. Can somebody say yes, Lord? Yes, Lord. You just bent on doing ill will towards somebody. Well, I just got to tell them, I know that they good now. They're not like they used to be. I just got to get this off my chest. It's a work of the flesh. That's what you're doing. It's not going to produce anything good out of it. Amen. Let's look at the second one. Variance. Anybody ever know anything about electronics? A little bit about the basic of electronics? They got these things called capacitors and resistors and on solid state boards for electricity. The thing is this. When you have a resistor on it, you have to find out, is this a regular resistor with power going through it? Watch this. Or it is a variable resistor. A variable resistor is able to change the current that goes through it so that you can adjust it for what you need it for. This is interesting because a lot of Christians, they experience variance. They change a lot. It's a work of the flesh. Wow. And your only hope is to ask God to help you with it. You change too much. You get fired up about the word, now you're down. You running with the saints, and the next time you vary. And I'm not saying it to be mean, listen, but you vary. Variance, you're up, down, in, out, cold, hot, yes, no, maybe, I don't know. You're full of variance. That's a work of the flesh. You got to quit being full of variance like that. You got to get up on time and be to work on time. Amen. Well, Pastor, it's normal to be late for work at least once a month. Not necessarily so. Come on, Pastor. Not necessarily so. But you vary a lot. It says in the book of James, first chapter, it says, God is the Father of lights in whom there's no variableness or shadow of turning. None. God doesn't vary. Sure, we're humans and we're going to go through, but some of us, you will change, and vary sometimes. But some people, that's just the way they are. They vary too much. They're always late. But they got good excuses for being late, and they'll explain it to you in detail. Living color. You're too variable. You're inconsistent. You're irregular. You're shifty. People in this state, they're not dependable. You see, dependability comes from wanting to have accountability. Accountability says, let me tell you why I'm late, then you let me know if it's legitimate. Folk don't want that these days. Well, I'm only human. Yeah, okay. We've gone over that. I'm not perfect. Come on, we've been there already, okay? Yeah, we done been. Those alibis have been used for the last 5,000 years. It's time for you to at least find another alibi. Nobody's perfect. Whoop-de-doo. Everybody knows that. Why don't you go a little deeper and find out why you did it? Amen. See, accountability gives you responsibility. And responsibility allows you to measure your performance, to see if you can be dependable. But we don't want to be accountable. I ain't got to be accountable. I'm just accountable to the Lord.
Help us, Lord.
You can't judge me.
Help us, Lord.
Don't judge me. Do you know the Bible says that you can judge? Gosh. Saints, sometimes saints just don't know. Yeah, don't judge. The Bible says you can't judge. You need to look at that word a little closer. Because in the book of Corinthians, they said you ought to be able to judge some things.
That's right.
I ain't got time to get on through that. You got to be able to judge some things for your own sanity and for your own clarity. You got to make judgments. Somebody say judgments. Judgments. You need to take a more responsibility to shake this weakness that you have. You're too variable. Not you, but you know your friends. You're good. But you're too variable. And because you shifty, you need to get with somebody and be responsible to them and be accountable. That's how you're going to get away from this shiftiness. That's how you're going to get away from moodiness. Just be accountable to somebody. Is that asking too much? Gosh. Amen. It's inconsistent. And people don't want to see that on your job, and you're looking for promotion. Let's move to the next one. The second one is emulations. Can somebody say emulations? Emulate is when you try to match someone, and you can. One of the highest compliments you can give a mentor is that you emulate them, right? But this work of the flesh emulation is that I'm copying you. I'm learning everything that I'm going to learn everything that you know, Stephanie. I want to know all of it about your job. I want to do it the way you do it, Tiffany, because I want to be like you, but really I want your job. I'm emulating because I want something. I'm emulating trying to act like I'm this in the church when I'm not, hopes I can get a position. That's why the spirit of discernment is so important. That's why I love when people are genuine. I love when people don't give the right answers all the time. Because you can locate people like that, all right? And there's a balance. There's a balance. Sometimes, when you're feeling bad, you don't say bad. Am I right? You don't feel. There are some times when you say it because you're there and you're trying to work your way out of it. Okay, but the thing is, you have to learn sometimes, because there are some Christians I just can't locate. You remember long ago they had this thing that it goes in the box and you pop, and Jack popped out of the box. Some Christians, they're like that. Every time I see them, how you doing? Blessed, brother. How's your mom? Blessed. Okay, so are you going to that game? Hey, thank you, G. Blessed. Yes, I'm going. Thank you, Lord. It's just like a Jack in the box. Blessed, Gosh, did you hear about? Thank you. Oh, glory. Thank you. What you say? Thank you. Oh, yeah, glory to your name. Come on. Yay. Thank you, Jesus. Don't be ashamed of them. I'm not shaming the Lord. I'm ashamed of you on the job making all this noise. Praying for somebody on the job. God tell you to pray for somebody. You got to make a scene. Just let me pray for you. Thank you, Lord. In the name of Jesus. I bind you, devil. Hallelujah. Now everybody on the job can hear you. You're not doing God a service.
Come on now.
This is how you do God a service. You showed us this the other day, Aaron. We was in a restaurant, and she shook the girl's hand. She said, I just want to shake your hand. I think you're just a great server, and that God's going to bless you because you used to be a manager or something. Then she said, yes, I was a manager. And she said, well, just let me pray for you. God, I just had her eyes open. The Bible says sometimes watch and pray, right? Some of you close your eyes too much. She said, God bless you. That God is going to bless you. And she began to pray for her with her eyes wide open.
She did. It was good, too.
Amen. You talking about touch? My goodness. You don't have to raise your voice and get attention. The Bible says, listen, if you do what you need to do privately, then God, listen, He'll award you publicly. Amen. What you do privately, and God, He'll reward you openly. But don't try to show off. Amen. A lot of Christians, they want to be seen. They lovely people, they just want to be seen, and they haven't got over themselves yet. That's emulations, okay? Emulations is I'm going to be with you and I'm working with you. I want to learn everything that you learn. But emulations is, I'm gunning for your job, okay? Emulations is when you try to get something done on a job, I'm going to have passive resistance. I ain't doing nothing. I'm going to talk to the rest of them. I don't know if I want to do that. What about you? Oh, yeah. Give you a low rating so I can move on in. Emulations. It's not always a complimentary work. Wrath is outbursts of anger. This is a work of the flesh. It's explosively dangerous too, and it starts with something as little as frustration. You're just frustrated, and now it's turning into wrath. You see, wrath says I'm not going to wait on God. Wrath says I'm going to give you your retribution. Amen. I've been in them situations before. I prayed and I stopped praying. I said, well, God, I don't want to pray for them no more, because if I pray, you're going to bless them. I don't want them blessed. They need to learn something because they've been so mean. Treating everybody bad. God, I'm going to come back and pray later, because if I pray, you're going to tell me to forgive them, and I'm not ready yet. I want them to let them feel bad for a while. See, we think we know religion. We superstition. We think we know the best remedy for somebody to be transformed. God, man. Woo, you should have wrote the Bible. I'm telling you, I didn't you? My goodness. So these are outbursts of anger, and you have to be careful of that. Then there's strife. God, strife is terrible, man. Strife is something that, and some people are not even aware that they're involved with strife. Strife is division. Any type of division, and you're fanning the division. Yeah, I know what you mean, girl. You ain't say nothing while the argument was going on, but now they quiet, they're on the side, and it's done cool down. You're like, yeah, I know what you're saying. They do talk too much, don't they? Mm-hmm. They said something to me the other day. I ain't say nothing to them, no. Just strife. This is a work of the flesh. And it's not going to yield you anything. You're going to get negative results from that every time. Don't help to be talking about people and starting more and more strife. I mean, that's what they do in politics. And this stuff is filtering down into the community, man. People want strife all the time. Want to fight. Who are you? Republican or Democrat? Don't make no difference. That's not the point. But Pastor, I like Republicans more. Who cares? I like Democrats. Who cares? Democrats are a little better than Republicans. Listen, the KKK came out of the Democratic Party, okay? Yeah. And the Republicans, they don't live up a lot of time to what they should be living up to. Right. In fact, they were the abolitionist party. Right. They were called the colored folk lovers. There you go. So listen, just belong to the party of the Lord, okay? Quit getting involved with all this stuff, man. There's dirt on both sides. One side does not have a clean record. Seditions and strife and all this stuff. It's just too much. And then you go into heresies. Y'all understand heresies, where you start believing something more than you believe the scriptures. Wow. There was a guy that was famous. I'm going to call his name. I know people that are connected with him, very connected. He used to work side by side with him. But now he believes he has a doctrine called all-inclusive. Everybody will eventually be saved one day. Don't worry about it. Lost everything. I've been to his church. I had 3,000 some people in his church, 2,500. Gone. It's over. Heresies. Believe in something that can't even be quantified in Scripture. That's why God gave you the Scripture, so you won't go off in left field. And you're still trying to figure it out on your own. Amen. That's why God gave you pastors. Keep you lined up. Amen. Keep the sheep feeding on good stuff. Eating the right way. That's why when we allow Steve and Aaron, anybody to speak to you in this church, they're going to feed you good. Amen. I ain't coming back in, folk, like they got malnutrition, rickets, and scurvy. I did that before. Come back, folk, mad, unsettled. Like, let me listen to the CD. I done made a wrong decision up in here, man. Help me, Lord. Envy, murders, drunkenness, and reveling. That's partying hard. Not just party hard. Let's turn it up more, okay? We tired, turn it up again. We ain't got no more drinks. Somebody go get some more. What are you trying to block out? What are you trying to get away from? And you get to a place where it's not, you don't even have fun no more being yourself. You need to be filled with something foreign. Hey, man, we're going to go ahead and close.